Alrighty, Void. So, I've been behaving, sticking to the A's pretty consistently, trying to get through all these things. Well, I decided to give myself a little bit of a movie break because I had been sick off of Jesse Ventura's lack of mustache. Then I watched a very long movie. Then I watched a pretty bad movie. So, bad movie, really long movie, bad movie. I needed a detention breaker, especially after the week I had had. So, I ended up just going for something more grisly because I needed something with more of a bite, something more of an edge. And I thought it's been a long time since I've pulled the cap off of Wolf Creek, so Wolf Creek it was. Especially since my partner wasn't around and she really can't stand this kind of movie, so it's about time to throw it up on the big screen rather than just my little laptop screen. Okay, so Wolf Creek. This was circa 2005, right around when all the big travel log horror movies kicked up. Did you guys notice that was kind of a mini era? Like, Hostel was coming out around then. We had Turistas around then. It was a little bit before The Ruins, I think. But actually, Ruins, I think, was '06, if I'm not mistaken. So, right around that time, actually. So, yeah, this was '05. So, a lot of these kind of movies were popping up. These treks into darkness. Particularly the serial killer ones. Okay, Ruins was '08, but, still, within 3 years. Where you go out to a place like this. Wrong Turn's another that's sort of in that genre. That's borderline. This one's a more you go on vacation and you're gonna have a bad time. That kind of genre. You're gonna meet someone that's gonna be downright unpleasant, and you're gonna have a bad time. So, and Wolf Creek kind of does the Hostel thing where you stick with kind of almost being like a vacation log film for quite a while before actually getting to the meat of it. Though it's not nearly as long as Hostel. Okay, so Wolf Creek is loosely based around the backpacker killer of Australia. So, this one follows 3 friends, 2 British tourists, and I guess a local boy they just met, I think. It's unclear their exact relation, but they're on vacation together, and they're essentially, they just bought a car and are trekking across Australia to go to the Wolf Creek meteor strike site. It's like a national park in the heart of Australia, like a million miles from anything. So, well, they, for a while, almost try to tease like some sort of alien-esque thing for it, but it's really not. And it doesn't even try that hard for it. So, essentially, their beater car more or less falls apart right when after they get there. Though it's kind of clear that either there's something with the site, I think it might be some sort of magnetic thing going on, which causes electronics to conk out because their watches were stopped, and then the car battery died. And it's clear that that sort of thing happens here often later on. Now, I'm not sure if our killer is behind that, but, well, he's at least taking advantage of it. So, essentially, they get rescued by Mick Taylor, this charming, outdoorsy, Crocodile Dundee-esque kind of guy, who's really kind of charming, actually. He's like, kind of like the uncle who will tell an inappropriate joke every once in a while that it's funny enough that you're getting away with, though he's still a little uncomfortable, but he's got a lot of charisma. His laugh is really infectious, so he's easy to get swept away with. That's largely because of John Jarratt. John Jarratt is amazing in this. I talked about him a lot in another film of his. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was another Australian film. I gave a pretty good review, but it was one of my Shudder treks so the name of it's not jumping out at me right off the top. It'll come to me. Anyway, John Jarratt is acting his ass off, and he is downright unsettling, particularly when things get, bad. And that's pretty much the girls trying desperately to escape from this guy, and then eventually, the boyfriend also tries to escape from the guy. But mostly it focuses around the 2 girls, Liv and Christy. Ben, the movie almost seems to forget about him for a while. Because the girls are clearly just, while they're trying to find him, are more interested in getting each other out than doubling back for him. Which was this weird kind of turn on it, so wasn't exactly what I was expecting there. I was trying to find the name of that movie, and it's not popping up here. I thought it was... I know it was under John Jarrett's filmography at some point, but... okay, I don't know. Might have had an alternate title or something, because it's just not jumping up. Well, anyway. I guess I digress there. It's going to really bug me, though. Anyway. Train of thought's gone. Sorry. So, the gore effects of this film, there's not too much of them, but when they are there, they're unsettling. This film has this voyeuristic feel about it. Just the way the camera's constantly in slight motion. I didn't notice it the first couple times I watched this, but this time I was kind of more paying attention, and it makes it feel like it's more of a... You're there with... Oh, it's not quite found footage, but it feels like it's almost. It makes it feel like you're kind of there with them, or you're just peeking into the action here, and it makes it very more unsettling. Especially since this film has a gritty layer of realism to it that it feels more real, and that's makes it downright unsettling, particularly with some of the stuff that happens to, like, well, that scene. So, yeah. Wolf Creek definitely packs a strong bite to it. I mean, the grittiness kind of reminds me of like a... I mean, it says right here on the back, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but that's not untrue. Except for Texas Chainsaw Massacre just goes off the rails in the last act, while this one stays very grounded. There are some times where I'm trying to work the clock for, like, how long this thing's taking, because, like, the characters are trekking across parts of the outback, like, they manage to steal a vehicle, drive off, be chased by Mick, throw the vehicle off the cliff, and it's like, okay, now they managed to walk back before he goes down to check on it and come and drive back. It's like trying to figure out how long that... Especially since you don't see him drive back either. So some of the time frames, I don't know if are matching up completely, but some small nitpick. Like I said, my main complaint is like Ben just seems to fall out of the movie for most of it as it focuses on Liv and Christy's escape, and then after they've both well, spoilers. Bad things happen. He just sort of walks away. And that just felt weird. Other than that, small nitpick. I guess another nitpick is the cover, because that's downright spoilery. Especially since it's pretty recognizable who that is, and she's clearly not having a good time there. This is a scene from, like, pretty far into the movie. I hate when things do that in the box art. Quarantine looking at you in particular. Okay, well. So for this movie, the soundtrack also, it's very generic, but it's one of those classic unsettling generics that I'll give it a pass on. I mean, this is a good 7 MacGuffins. It still holds up, it's still unsettling, the violence is condemnable in the best way possible. So yeah, I do give Wolf Creek a recommendation. They only kind of tease a little bit why Mick is doing this, with a with a few comments about him viewing getting rid of varmints, that there are too many pests around, like tourists. The second movie I know goes a lot more into his hatred of tourism and tourists, but I think they kind of... It's not a bad film, but they definitely kind of caricature it a little bit more. But this one feels very solid. Well, Wolf Creek, 7 MacGuffins, do recommend it. See you later, boy.